don't want our kids seeing people walking in to a dispensary. It's a valid concern. I will say that we are making very few, if any, adjustments to the exterior of this building. Then I looked at our architectural plans a bit closer, particularly our signage plans. And I noticed that we had the word Ascend Dispensary Outlet on them. That's signage that Ascend uses in some other states. But as I thought through it and talked with the team, we have agreed to remove the word outlet from the sign, and we have agreed to remove the word dispensary from the sign. So as this community drives by that building, you will essentially see the same building as it sits today with one word on it that says Ascend. Go to the next slide. Another concern that I heard was that this is inconsistent with church ideals. I've learned a lot about Life Point Church since this process has started. I live in Cincinnati. I go to Crossroads Church every Sunday with my wife and my 2 children. So I really thought about this concern. And upon further reflection and talking with the team, we have agreed that we would be willing to curtail our Sunday hours to be respectful of church and family time in this community. While Ascend would otherwise operate from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sundays, we would be willing to clip those hours and limit them to 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. if that would be acceptable with the church members of this community. Going to the next slide. A third concern that I heard was stigma. This was really one of the primary things that I spoke with Franz Geiger about when he met with me over at the property. He was very concerned about the stigma of cannabis in this community. Stigma has many parts associated with it. He's concerned that people will be walking around this community high all the time, that we'll be selling a harmful product, and that we'd be marketing towards children. Next slide. I've heard these concerns from similar communities, other communities that I've gone into. I've opened 3 cannabis stores in Ohio now. 2 of them, we were the first cannabis dispensary in a community after they had lifted their ordinance. So I understand the stigma, and I understand a bit of what this community is going through when they hear that a dispensary is coming here. I will say what I have found, that absent a regulated dispensary in a community, that void gets filled by black market cannabis that's on the streets. We all know that there's a fentanyl crisis and other things that go into those drugs. It also gets filled often by an unregulated hemp-derived market in these communities which sell high-potency products, synthesized forms of cannabis with chemical additives, and these products are marketed towards children. While talking with Franz, I asked him if there were any CBD shops that operated at Polaris, and he told me that there were. So after our meeting, I drove down to Polaris, and as I drove into the parking lot of the mall, this was the first sign that I saw. Those big red letters that say THC are letters that speak to young consumers in this community, your kids who are at the mall on Fridays and Saturday nights. These letters speak to consumers who are looking for a product that has high potency, synthetic cannabis that they can buy without questions and without showing any identification. Next slide. I brought with me, and I have cleared this with the trustees before I arrived, these are unopened packages and they'll remain unopened throughout this presentation. But I bought these at the mall. This first one is called Jelly. It's advertised with 5,000 milligrams of pure THC in this package. Actually, before I even show you these products, let me tell you when I walked into the store what I saw. As I expected, because we have this in my community as well. No security staff anywhere. Products on the shelves that I could touch and hold and look at, and that I could buy without showing any form of identification. This one says it's got 125 milligrams of THC in each one of these gummies. Just to put that in perspective, at a regulated dispensary, we can't sell anything that has more than 10 milligrams. These get made because the 2018 Farm Bill allows for hemp, so long as you harvest that hemp under 0.3% THC. All right, so after that gets harvested, what chemists are doing is they're bringing the cannabinoids in the plant into labs, they're applying heat, pressure, and other chemicals to it, and they're converting those cannabinoids into THC. And because it was harvested at 0.3%, and then they use clever formulas to show that the dry weight is less than 0.3%, there's not regulation right now that prevents this. These things cross state lines, and this is what our children are consuming. I bought the Knockout blend, right? I also saw products called Trainwreck. I bought some chocolates. These are single-serving chocolates. This one's got 30 milligrams of THC in it. Other products clearly marketed towards children. This is over at Polaris. And I bought a lollipop. I pulled this out of a candy jar that was on the counter with a sign on it advertising 30 milligrams for each piece of candy that was in there, right? There's no label on this product at all. I don't blame Franz Geiger for that shop existing. If you're not in the cannabis market, you see words like THC, these words seem meaningless, right? We think that we have regulations that are protecting us. But I do say that this is what happens when an unregulated option is not available. This is not isolated. Oh, sorry, I also bought these little caramel things that you can pop in your mouth. This problem's not isolated to Polaris. I drove around this community. I drove around Orange Township for the last couple of days. I walked into another shop and I said, do you have anything that can get me like really high? Guy behind the counter looked like he was 16 years old. I'm sure he wasn't. But he said, bro, come with me. He sold me this product, which doesn't have any identification on it as to what's in it. He told me it has 1,000 milligrams of THC, 1,000. And I said, how do you know that? It doesn't say it anywhere on here. He's like, bro, trust me. He took out a Sharpie and he wrote it on there for me. So this is the labeling standards that we have regarding unregulated products. He told me this one will really get you messed up. And he said, bro, don't take it all at once. I take a lot of cannabis and even I don't do that. This one has 1,250 milligrams of THC in it. The warning label on the back is written in about 2-point font. I had to get my daughter's microscope to read what it said, and it said, danger, do not consume in one sitting. It's one gummy in here. It says, take a little bit and wait 45 minutes to see what the effects are, and then take a little bit more. I asked if they had any smoking devices that look like toys. Of course they did. Here's a pink ducky. They sold pre-rolls, which we're not allowed to sell at a regulated cannabis dispensary, so that you don't have to figure out how to roll it yourself. All these products I bought without any identification at stores that exist here in Orange Township. Our Ohio elected officials have done a really good job over the last number of years creating a regulated program in an effort to snuff out this market, the black market, and other markets. These are tight regulations. We have limits on the amount of THC that we can put into products. We have heightened testing and labeling standards. You cannot do a chemical conversion in a product and sell it to anybody. We don't have products on shelves. When you walk into a medical or even a non-medical marijuana dispensary like we are asking for here, the first thing that you will see is a security guard, and you'll have to provide your identification. You will not see any product anywhere because it is not allowed on shelves. There's an age restriction of 21 and over. Next slide. I'm here today to tell you that I and my team, we are rule followers. I've been working in the Ohio regulated cannabis market since its inception. I understand Ohio Revised Code Chapters 3780 and 3796 very well because from the first days of this program getting on its feet, I used to write applications for companies. I'm an attorney, and I had to make sure that we satisfied every single prong of these regulations. I own 3 operating dispensaries in Ohio. I understand what it means to do things the right way versus the wrong way. I'd like us to work together. When the trustees passed the dispensary ordinance last July, this community took a big step forward in providing safe and restricted access to this community. We have a plan to honor the courage that this community took. And now I'd like to introduce you to the operators who would be operating this facility. They are called Ascend. And Kathleen Olivastro is here from Ascend to speak with you more about their operations.
I'm Kathleen. Can you hear me back there? Okay, good. Kathleen Olivastro. I live at 1906 Chesterfield Ridge Circle in Chesterfield, Missouri. I'm the Senior Vice President of Ascend Retail Operations. We operate in 7 states. And I've been with Ascend 5.5 years. I think next in the deck, Eric's got just some letters or some testimonials from partners that we have near the other 3 dispensaries. I don't really want to, I don't know if you want me to read those to you all, but these are folks that are surrounding our dispensaries that have given tribute to how we operate as a business. And I'll just let you flip through when you're ready. Okay, the slide that you're seeing right now is one of our operating dispensaries. The tables that you're seeing on the floor have packaging but no product in them. There's information inside the tables that you can read on how it would be used, what type of product you're getting, what you can expect from the effects and the levels of THC, et cetera. Behind is the registers. There's about 6 to 7 registers in each one of our locations. This is our footprint. So we operate in 7 states. Here, we opened in Carroll, Ohio first in 2019. Then we were able to acquire a location in Coshocton in 2020. And then most recently, the three locations that Eric spoke to: Cincinnati, Sandusky, and Piqua. Cincinnati's the most recent one. We opened them January of 2024. So in this photo, you see just different formats of our dispensaries. At the top, the one that says Ascend, it looks like it's white. That's in our New Jersey location. Directly below it is in our Boston location. One thing that I would call out, you can see that it's just Ascend with just what we call our graphic logo above it or below it. There's a picture that shows folks. Those are folks that are shopping, and that's in our Rochelle Park location. Anyone that enters the store must be 21. We have electronic devices that check the IDs at the entry, and then they're allowed to go into the store. There's kiosk in the store, and then there's tables, as you know. When somebody places an order and they go up to the POS, their identification is checked again. We do have, Eric was talking about the amount of THC that can be purchased. We have limitations set at our register. If somebody gets to a point, that's the first line of defense. If they get over 100 milligrams, then it will red flag and stop, and the associate can no longer ring that transaction. A manager has to come speak with the customer to let them know they may be over their limit. In Ohio, it was initially set for medical patients because medical patients had certain limits that were set by doctors. Okay, this is our Cincinnati location. The first floor is the dispensary, and the windows that you're seeing would be our lobby area. You walk from the lobby into the dispensary after your ID is checked. On the second floor, we've built offices for the managers as well as a break area, a full kitchen for the associates minus a stove. And then there's a balcony that we furnished outside so the associates can sit outside and have lunch and on nice days, not recently for sure. Okay. No offense, Ohio. Okay. You want to be sure I'm addressing. Okay, so let me talk about the number of employees. So this says approximately 35, which is accurate. I did go through and look at some schedules in our average dispensaries to make sure that this was still the truth today. There's a general manager, which is a salaried manager. They're on the property about 45 to 50 hours a week. There is an assistant general manager or senior supervisor, who is a salaried manager. They're on the property as well. So to give you an example, on a Friday, the general manager may open, the assistant manager would close. Peppered throughout are the hourly supervisors that we have, and they're all managers, but they're used as backup. When we're open for business, we have a manager in the vault area, which is where our product is. We have a manager on the sales floor, a manager that kind of walks around and helps at the POS, and then a manager that floats. I call it a figure eight, and they just kind of go through all the store just to make sure everything's running smoothly. Okay. And then this is the site on here. Yeah, okay, they noted possible Sunday hours, 12 to 6. So that is something that, working with the community, we would like to make sure is agreeable for you all. Site circulation, I don't know if you need me to go into this stuff because I know Greg and Eric spoke about it. What I can talk about, because this did come up earlier, so I spent some time today looking at transactions. When I was here last, I was asked the question, what's an average transaction, or how many average transactions in a day? And I had to think of the entire organization, our entire company, and it varies if you're looking at a New Jersey or a Boston or a Chicago versus what we're seeing in Southern Illinois or Ohio. So I went through and looked at our Ohio locations, from our peak location, which is Cincinnati, to our smallest location, which is Coshocton. So where I landed is in this location. Most likely we are looking at approximately 640 transactions a week. Then I broke it down by day and by hour. So we do about 12 to 15% of our business. I got to pull it up on my phone. I took a picture. so I could be accurate. So what that looks like, on an average Monday, 77 transactions, that's 12%, which would be 6 an hour. It takes us on an average of 5 minutes to, I call it door to door, when a customer comes into the door, has their ID checked, places an order, or goes to the POS if they place their order online, pays, and exits. It's typically about 5 minutes. So on Monday, we would see 6 an hour, Tuesday 7, and Wednesday 7. Both those days account for 14% of our business. On Thursday, we jump up to 15% of our business, which would be 8 customers an hour. On Friday, that is typically the peak day. It's 20% of our business. That's 11 transactions an hour. Saturday, again, we go down to 15% of our business, so 8 transactions an hour. And then Sunday, I calculated it on 8 hours, and that would be 64 transactions, which would be 8 transactions an hour. So I just wanted to create some level of comfort so people understood what the traffic would look like. Okay. Sorry, I keep flipping back and forth. All right, on the next slide, did I address all those? Oh, parking spaces, because I think we have like 59 parking spaces, which would adequately suit the associates as well as the customers that would be working in the store. Okay. This deck is bigger than the one I studied. Sorry, you guys. Okay, the dispensary floor plan, I can do it from here. The green is the entrance. Wherever it's limited access area, you need a scan card to get into that area. Scan cards are issued by managers. They're held by associates. If there's someone on our team that resigns or is terminated, we have their scan card turned off immediately. It takes maybe 5 seconds to do. It's a quick process that we have in place to protect the stores. Let me get over here. Okay, let me see. You can see the sales floor. The red restricted access, so all back there, the large spot is the vault. That's where we keep the product. We typically have 250 to 400 SKUs within our buildings. And that's the items that would be on the menu. This location would probably live at about 300 to 350. I'm calling that out because it's notably different from the shop you went to at the the CBD shop. They had 1,000 SKUs. So we do keep ours limited to protect the product. There's a security and a storage room, the IT room, break room, receiving room, and offices. I do want to call out our IT rooms are all locked. They're all locked with the scan card. Only the general manager, the assistant general manager, and myself can get into the IT room. That's done to protect it so nobody can get in to get any of the information from the IT towers. I'm not quite certain how all those things work, but I do know there's a lot of stuff that happens, so we keep it pretty locked down. Okay. This is the building. And this, okay. And so this would be the signage that we would be using. We went back after Eric said and hearing some of the feedback, we just went back and took off the dispensary and things like that. I would share with you as well, we don't use dispensary everywhere. We don't have it in like Boston and Jersey and places like that. We don't use it in Chicago. Every once in a while we may have it on a building. A lot of it depends on the market that we're in. And then the site plan and equipment, I can talk about this, and I don't mean to turn my back to everybody, so excuse me. But there's an alarm and an intrusion. So the buildings are alarmed 24/7. When the teams leave at night, the alarm is set. If anything should happen, if a rock goes up against the window, it will signal an alarm that goes directly to our security company and to the police department. And we have the restricted access, which I spoke to, comprehensive surveillance. Our buildings I'm going to quote what somebody said to me, and when we opened up in Pennsylvania, the police officer said that we had more cameras than Hollywood, so I would have to agree with that. There's cameras all over, so you can see, I can look in any dispensary, I can see the complete outside, the full parking lot. I can see every point within the dispensary, minus the restrooms. It's a live feed. It also goes to the cloud, and it drops onto our corporate system as well. So we, most of the time, it does, I guess the best defense is a good offense, but I will tell you, the main things that I would pull them for is the police. If there's an accident on the road in front of a dispensary or around a dispensary, they'll come to us to see if we have any footage. And then on-site security personnel, Eric spoke to that. They go through security training. They have, they'll have something like a shirt or something on that says security. I'm trying to rack my brain to see if we've ever had an interaction, like if our security personnel in any of the states in which I operate have ever interacted in a negative way, and we've just not had that experience. And again, I think it's the best defense is a good offense, so. Okay. This is in our Illinois, this is Fairview Heights, Illinois, so. Thank you.
Make this overly long, but I have a few, we can move past this sign. Eric already covered it.
Can you state your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry, again, Greg Grosby, 667 Park Edge Drive, Gahanna, Ohio. So next slide. So we talked a little bit about the criteria for approval at the beginning of this presentation. So just to fill folks in, majority of Orange Township voters, as well as a majority of Delaware County voters, voted to approve adult use marijuana in November of 2023. The township lifted its moratorium, as Eric pointed out, on dispensaries in 2024. As you've heard, the dispensary is highly regulated. Ohio has the harshest regulations of any state that allows cannabis. We believe that offers some benefits to the consumer and to the community. We talked about the safety that is provided by a cannabis dispensary. We've got a couple of slides that we'll show you after this about the low crime rates and much lower than some other similar businesses in the area. Additionally, one of the criteria is whether the proposed development is in conformity with the comprehensive plan for the township. The township adopted a comprehensive plan, as noted on page 60 of that plan. This is mostly a residential area, and the plan notes that it's important to have certain commercial areas within the community to expand the township's tax base, create new jobs, and develop new places for residents to enjoy. Additionally, this particular spot has two buildings on it that are no longer being used. They're lying fallow. Daycare was the only use that was permitted here previously, and it failed. Our clients plan to bring in functioning businesses in both the buildings, dispensary, other commercial use, to increase the tax base, to hire residents in the area as employees, to pay them well, and to create a new business in an area where there's nothing going on right now. Finally, the proposed development advances the general welfare of the township and the immediate vicinity. Again, there are a number of taxes that will be collected off of this site: increased property taxes, employee taxes. There's an excise tax for cannabis products. It's a 10% excise tax, 36% of which would go to the community, and sales taxes. These are not inconsiderable. And then as part of joining the, or conducting business in the community, there's a JED tax. And the applicant has agreed to become a part of the JED and pay the JED tax. Additionally, we'll note that as not just an adult use, but also a medical marijuana facility, there will be people in this community that need those services. And this will be a highly regulated place where they can get the help they need. Next slide. So this site conforms with the standards in the area. There's commercial across the street, up the street. There are, this is not far down the road from Topgolf, right? So there are commercial buildings in this area. If you go to the next slide, you'll see, IKEA. There's a distilling company that is actually opening. They have done their construction. They're going to be opening soon. That's actually closer to the residential uses in Orange Township than our proposed facility. And remember, there are a number of places here where you can buy the products that Eric showed us earlier. You can buy alcohol. Those things can all be used on site, and there's no one checking to see that you're not using those when you take them to your car, drive down the street with them. At our facilities, we don't allow people to open. It's against state law. They can't open anything on site. They can't loiter on the property. They can't sit in their cars and use them. They're instructed to take these products home because that's in accordance with state law. Talked already about the economic benefits and silent support. There are a number of people in this community that voted for this and will make use of these products. There was a poll that was commissioned by Ascend to gauge public sentiment, and that yielded similar results. There are benefits to offering medical marijuana products. Chronic pain, nausea, anxiety are some of the major benefits. It would be good to have a spot in this community that offered those to people who are in need. And again, because of the safety measures that are made a part of the cannabis dispensaries as a requirement of state law, these tend to be very secure facilities. Just a couple more things. Economic benefits. One of the questions that we had received at the zoning hearing was, what's the effect on property values? We took a look at every scholarly study that was commissioned. Someone mentioned at the last hearing, hey, everybody has their own study they can proffer. We looked at all of them. We looked at every study that was commissioned with respect to dispensaries in the United States and what the effect, actually broader than the United States, and what the effect on home values was. As you can see, almost all of those found that the home values would increase, or there was one that said it was of zero effect. I will point out the two that showed a negative effect. One is in the Netherlands, where there's almost no regulation. The other one is in Washington State. People who are familiar with this industry understand that there are states like Ohio, which are highly regulated, Ohio being the #1 highest regulated state. There are also states that are messy states. These are typically states out west. California, Colorado in particular. There's not a whole lot of regulation. You're seeing products that are not from the state, black market products actually making it into actual dispensaries out there. That does not happen in Ohio. And so you don't see some of the effects that you see in other states in Ohio. We looked at other studies, and again, I think there was a study or two proffered at the last meeting. We looked at, again, every scholarly study that has been published. This is what they found out. They're not all in favor of saying that there's no crime that comes from dispensaries, but the blue says that those studies say that there's a decrease in crime. The green found no effect. That orange reddish color, there were 2 studies that said, yeah, there's an increase in crime around a dispensary. Not surprisingly, those 2 studies were performed on dispensaries in Colorado and California. As far as economic viability, there was another question that came out of the meeting. You know, why should this be located at this particular site? The answer is there are very few sites that would pass the state's requirements that you can't be within 500 feet of a school, of a church, you know, daycare, other uses, and you have to be within, or you have to be at least a mile away from another dispensary. These are the sites that are available. And this particular site was the only site that didn't have a tenant of whatever type currently at that location. Next slide for economic viability. You know, the failure to grant this rezoning would cause a problem for, next slide after this, would cause a problem for the owner. Again, Eric purchased this property with the understanding that, you know, we'd be able to move forward with a dispensary here. The property was priced that way. If the rezoning is not granted, the only use that this site could be put to would be for a daycare, a business that has already failed on that site. That essentially operates as a taking of Eric's rights as a property owner in the community. At this point, I think that's all we have in our presentation. There are some additional slides that were added as, after this one, that were added as just an appendix, but
Okay.
we don't need to go through those.
Does the board have any initial questions?
Do you have any, Erica?
You can go.
Okay. I do have one. Are the company colors orange and blue? As shown in the sign.
Predominantly blue, with just little
If this was approved, would it be possible to change the monument signage to match the wall signage? Because our school colors all have blue in them, and particularly Orange High School is nearby, and it's orange and blue. And when I see that, those colors, you know, you think of automatically school kids would be attracted. So that was just something that I had actually noticed before. I don't know if they could be more the earth tone colors.
Yeah, can you make sure
Yeah.
you're speaking on, you can use that microphone, thank you.
Yeah, we could take it, there were some of the dispensaries that had the Ascend in white. And yeah, so we could go that route. I think it's like gold in Boston, but we could change it to the white.
Okay, 'cause,
The
yeah,
orange is relatively new, so.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I think when the orange is on the white, it doesn't look like Orange High School colors, so.
Right.
Okay. And so you have agreed to take the dispensary outlet off, correct? Of all the signage?
Yep.
And what's the average transaction value when someone buys something there? Do you know about how much people usually
It
spend?
can vary, so if it's in a medical dispensary, specifically solid medical, like our dispensary in Carroll, that would get up to about $90. And our location and our adult locations that are predominantly adult use, probably 50 to 60.
Okay, all right. And so I've already emailed a lot of residents some of this information, which was already, most of it was reviewed, I think, tonight. But originally, how this came about is they approached us, as he mentioned, in July of 2024. We had a public meeting. We had 2 public meetings to discuss it. And after we had the first meeting to talk about it, and then we went back and did extensive research. And only after we checked out the safety of other uses in the area, we checked out the Ohio Revised Code, which is extremely stringent. They will shut you down. It's worse than the alcohol commission. If you have any violations, they are dying to shut you down. So this will be extremely regulated compared to other states and areas. That is correct. So after we did our due diligence, I looked on the LexisNexis site and saw that the areas that have these do not have virtually any crime at the business. And in fact, it seems as though people actually stay away because there's so many cameras. So if that was a concern, I never would have been interested in doing this. But on that information, we did not receive any public feedback from any residents who were concerned about it. So that's how we proceeded, and he purchased the property. So he kind of was all in on this. And the property is valued, at $3.5 million. So it wasn't a small amount of money. So we received no negative comments. He purchased the property. It's near the distillery, as was mentioned. For some reason, that property was only zoned as a daycare. I've never really seen that. Usually we have multiple retail uses, so that would be considered a taking of the property if you cannot use it at some point. The property is already zoned commercial, as we mentioned. It's different than the situation further up the road where there was a property that was residential that someone wanted to rezone as commercial. That was a completely different situation. It's adjacent to massive commercial development and also the city of Columbus, so it could very easily and quickly be annexed to the city without our permission, and we would lose 100% control. They could be open until 11 p.m. by state law every single day, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. They could go ahead and put the cannabis dispensary right back on it. There are so many other things they could do that they could remove a lot of the expensive fencing and all the other things they're doing to improve it. And we would lose I think we'd still get the property tax if it was the type 2, but we would not get the income tax that we'll be getting of 2.5% from this property. It's income tax, and it's on the, I think, the profits of the business. Is that correct? We would lose that. And then, as we know, there's a 3.6% of the gross sales that we're entitled to. And there's some questions about whether that is going to actually be changed by the General Assembly. We're not sure if that will happen, but there's a lot of people that are very upset about that, so I don't know if it would go through or not. But as it stands now, we would get 3.6%. So together, all of this could be over $500,000 a year to the township. Now, if I thought this is a bad use, I wouldn't accept $10 million for the township. No amount of money, if it was a bad use, would I be interested in this. But it very easily could annex. And it is directly adjacent. Michelle, could you bring up the Galaxy site plan? So it's directly adjacent to this Galaxy site plan, or a Galaxy, what's it called, master plan development. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, could you bring up the Galaxy Master Plan Development info, the other one? But you can see it's laid out, the one that I sent you.
Oh, okay.
It's,
All right, tab.
yeah, is it on, oh, there we go.
Like this, Lisa?
Yeah, is that the first, is there a first page?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's it. So the Galaxy Master Plan Development is located at the northwest corner of East Powell Road in Polaris. It's 38.5 acres. The subject property we're discussing is just 1.44, so this is a very small property. That Galaxy Master Plan Development will envelope this proposed use. It surrounds it on almost all sides. That will create a vast increase in traffic and noise, and there is a road indicated that will be built from Polaris Parkway directly over to East Powell Road. And there are 3-story apartment buildings that are being built on East Powell Road. So if you show that next, yeah, there you go. So you can see in red that is the corner right there. So that's not going to be a residential corner anymore, sadly. And this is what happens when property gets annexed. This was all Orange Township years ago, and it was taken from us. It was all annexed. So you're getting high-density development. There is, Michelle, if you can go down just a little bit so I can see the square on the top left. Yeah, see right, the 38,000, yeah, there you go. So this is planned to have 647 apartment units and hundreds of thousands of square feet of office, retail, entertainment, restaurant, bar. There's 1,219 garage parking spaces. It's a 5-story garage, 888 surface parking spaces, and some green space. So the apartments that are actually behind East Powell Road are 5-story apartments. So that is going to be, I mean, it looks like a nice development. It's going to be kind of interesting for some people, but that is what is going to go in here soon, and it's already started development. So if that property was not going to be developed like that, I might also have a different opinion, but to me, this is going to be partially blocked by those apartment buildings. So this is a use that I think is going to be just another small retail use within a behemoth of a development. So I don't know if everyone knows that that's coming, but it is. And you can see right here the specifics of it, the apartments on Powell Road, the road that goes out to Powell Road, East Powell Road. So when we're talking about up to 500 trips a day, which that's not correct anyway, that's an exaggeration. It's going to be much smaller than that, but that is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to this development. So you'll have people cutting through to East Powell Road, in and out all the time. So this, to me, and I checked with the county engineer on the traffic, and they have no concerns about the traffic and will probably not require them to make any traffic improvements. That could change, but they don't have any concerns. So I just wanted to give some of the rationale for this. And can you show the other exhibit, the issue? I called it issue 2, but I actually put issue 1 on the exhibit accidentally, which I noticed, but. Okay, so this is the high-quality exhibit that I made, but, so it's actually issue 2. But, so these are the precincts here in Orange Township that voted yes and voted no, and you can see that every single precinct in the township voted yes, except for R and T was within 10, just 10 people voting yes. R was about 100 difference. So you can see that the majority of township residents did vote for issue 2. Michelle, if you can go down a little more. So I looked at, anyone can look up the LexisNexis crime for the last, you can go back several years. So here we have the Polaris area, and you can see, and this is a free service, anyone can look up. You can see the Polaris area there in the middle. It's hard to see because of all the crimes are covering it up. But if you want to be in an area that has, there were 3 robberies within the last 6 months at Polaris, in that Polaris area. You can see them by the little masks. Those are all robberies. And part of it's because there's a lot of people there, but when there's a lot of people there, people are anonymous. It's become more dangerous whenever you have a lot of people living there and acting. There are a lot of people going in and out. So that is a very high crime rate. You can see directly to the north is our community, and there's not very much crime. Okay, next page, please.
Sorry. Did you want the next one?
Oh, yeah, and actually, you can see down at, actually, just a sec, if you see, down at Sankus and Lozelle Road, I think it's right, can't see it now, Lozelle and Sankus, can you see Lozelle and Sankus in there? Yeah, it's right in the area, there we go, with the, that's the area that the current True Leave dispensary is, or a little bit, yeah, right there, you can see it, Sankus and Lozelle Road, right about where there's one.
The Fist is down a little bit lower, is that right?
Yeah,
South of Lozelle.
yeah, right there.
A little bit lower.
Yeah, so that's where the True Leave dispensary is currently located, and there's not a lot of crime in the area, but if you go, so go to the next page, please. And there's one crime there was menacing in the last 6 months. I don't know what that involved. The City of Columbus crime website is somehow is down right now. You can see that there is literally one crime there, and when you look at it from a distance, it's not surrounded by crime. It seems to be less crime here. Okay, next page, please. I looked at a ton of them. It just took a while to make these exhibits. You can get on and find all the dispensaries and check out the crime. But the next one is at Crosswoods. This is the general Crosswoods area, and you can see a little blue marker on the left side, and that's where this other dispensary is located. And, yeah, right there. So that's where the, go to the next page, please. And this is called elevated growth at Crosswoods, and there's been no crimes reported there in 6 months, 0 crimes. So there's some crimes there's lots of hotel crime in that area in general, but it doesn't, these uses, you will not see an uptick in crime because people do not want to be around well-lit buildings that are highly secure. They want to commit their crimes in the dark anonymously. Okay, go to the next one, please. And anyone can look up every single one, and you'll see the same thing. I mean, areas that have higher crime in general will have higher crime. Let's see. Okay, so this next one is the 2950 North High Street. And you can also see here that it's right where the little marker is. And there's no crime in here. Compared to even the surrounding area, it doesn't show any crimes in the last 6 months that have been reported. Okay, I think there's one more. Yeah, now see this one here, you can see the marker. This is on Cassidy Avenue, which is near the airport or at the airport. And you can see that there's a bunch of crimes, in the general area, but if you actually go down to the next page, yeah, it's called Verdant Creations. There's no crimes been reported at this facility in 6 months. So it's one thing to look up a study and say it does this and that, but you can actually look up the actual crimes on the LexisNexis online. And Columbus reports all of their crimes. They don't hide any like some communities do. So this is when I looked at these kinds of things, I did not find it to be objectionable. We have lots of bars in the area. There's lots of alcohol in the area. There's people there are loud at night, things like that. Bars are open till 2 in the morning. Buying from this kind of store is very expensive. If you're going to buy marijuana on the side from a friend or a dealer, it's going to be a lot less expensive. You're not going to go to a store like this. You're going to get it illegal, and there's still quite the black market for this substance, which, just for the record, I did not use, nor do I intend to use. But I know a lot of people that use it for pain, the older people. So I did visit the one at Sankis, and it just looked to me like a dentist's office, and the people coming and going were totally normal. They weren't freaks. They weren't high. They were just normal people. I had a different perception before I did all this research, before we even approved this. So I know that there are a lot of concerns, and whatever's the perception is reality, so that's why we're here to answer these questions. But a lot of the crime in the area comes from the Polaris Mall because it's just highly congested. So I just wanted to, I've emailed this to some of you, but I wasn't able to answer every email. But we have done a lot of due diligence on this. I've talked to the applicant several times. I understand their concerns, but they've been very willing to work with us on any and all concerns. They've been extremely responsive. I think they would be a good part of our community. I don't think any kids driving by will even know what this business is. It's not going to say dispensary. It's not going to say, excuse me.
The hearing is being recorded, so we need to please respect all the speakers, including the board.
Yes. And so I have yet to have a single person give me actual information that shows this is a bad use for the township. And we could, like I said, we could turn it down. We could be sued. We could lose millions of dollars, and it would still be built there anyway. So those are my comments. Thanks.
So my understanding, I also visited the dispensary at Sankis and LaSalle, and I asked about security because they didn't have security, and they said state law does not require security, but you indicated that there would be security?
Yes, at Ascend, we have security.
Okay, all the
So,
time, so in 20 years, there'll still be security?
I
What do
would
you mean by
expect,
security?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, I
security
can't
guards.
commit for hypothetical, but I can tell you that in our dispensaries, we do that. And a lot of times, it's just because it makes some folks feel better, but we've never really had a necessity for it. But it's in an effort to make folks feel better, so.
And is the
yes.
security on site, and I understand they're not armed, but are they on
No.
site the whole time that the business is open?
They come when the team opens. They
Okay.
open with the team, and, yeah, and close, they're there.
And to confirm, will you sell both recreational and medical? here?
Pardon me?
Will you sell recreational and medical marijuana here?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it a person that's security, do they check people in? Who,
They walk around the dispensary and the property. So
Okay.
they're not distracted with checking IDs. All of our dispensaries also have walkies and headsets. So if somebody's concerned about something, they'll walk you for the manager or security. So they're available walking around, but they're not sitting behind a camera
Okay.
or with a task.
and everybody's ID is checked? You cannot get in the front door? There's a person there. That's different security. Okay, all right, go ahead.
And then my understanding is a cash or debit card only business at this point, since it's not legal federally, right?
Correct.
So how do you protect, speak to the measures that you guys use to keep the cash safe, to protect from armed robbery or robberies of your
Sure,
cash, that kind of thing?
sure. So about 70% of our transactions are completed with a debit card. So we don't have as much cash as somebody would think. We have safes in our offices that are locked 2 different ways, with a key and with a code. And the managers will go through at random times and check drawers. We can check it from the computer, or we can just look to see what the drawer looks like, and they'll do cash drops. We do them at random times so that nobody can figure out a schedule or anything like that.
Robin, do commercial and office uses, what it could be, the additional building B would be zoned as, does that include retail, or is that
Yes, that would include
that
retail.
include retail? Okay. So at one point, you guys indicated that it could be the economic viability, that it only could be a daycare. But if you were to, obviously your business is a dispensary, but if you were to sell the property to somebody else, you could rezone it, same as you're rezoning it here, from daycare to marijuana dispensary. It could be rezoned from daycare to commercial or retail. So it's not that it's not viable if we don't approve marijuana.
Well, that's a different zoning application. That's not the application that we filed.
Right.
Currently,
Right.
only daycare is be able to use it at this time. We don't have any assurance that we could do that, right? So
Right, but it is possible to start the zoning process over. Marijuana is not the only commercial or retail business that could sit at this property.
if it were to be approved, there are a lot of things we could do if it were approved.
Okay.
I think they did say that they're planning on maybe another retail use. Did you mention that possibly, like a fitness shop or something when I talked to them?
That's what was indicated at the zoning commission, right? You
Right.
had a couple prospective clients or
We've had
tenants?
a couple people inquire about it. I will say, I don't own just general businesses that I would put in there. So for me, as it relates to Building B, I mean, one of the reasons we haven't discussed who would go in there is because it's just not a line of business that I'm in, just being landowners
landlord,
and trying
right.
to find tenants for properties.
But they could be located here under this zoning if it was approved, most general retail uses, right? And there are some
Or
excluded.
offices or medical or any of that, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever's in there.
So that second bag, Eric, that you brought us, can you tell us the name of the store that you got that from?
I can. It's right down the street. It's in the Walmart parking lot.
Okay, so that's within Orange Township.
Yes.
Okay, so because the first bag you brought, if you got it off of Polaris Mall, that is not Orange Township.
Correct. There was a couple stores that I went in Orange Township.
Okay.
To get these products.
Great.
Yeah, and actually, if you look up cannabis, it shows, the one at Polaris shows up as cannabis
At the mall.
at the mall, yeah.
The survey that was put out, I know you guys referenced that it showed that the community was interested in it. However, I also got a copy of the survey, a resident sent it to me. It was a very leading survey, so there wasn't an option there to say, no, I don't want it. So I don't take the survey results as anything that indicates that our community won, for the record, just so we're aware of that. So a couple other questions. So I looked at the 5 different Ascend locations in Ohio, because one of the questions that was asked, I believe, at the zoning commission level is, are you operating in another city where your business is next to residential? And my understanding was the answer was yes.
Correct. Our one in Sandusky, it is right next to a residential house.
And so when I looked, because I looked at, I went to the map and went into Google Maps and all that kind of stuff, it looked like that Sandusky one was along like a 5-lane road, two lanes and a turn lane, that kind of a thing. And there was a lot of hotels around it, which is not consistent. If you're coming from East Powell, not consistent with this location. It looked like the Cincinnati one, as you guys showed, that was downtown. There may be housing near that. I don't know if any of the buildings next door were lofts or anything like that. Pickwell looked like it was in a commercial spot. Carroll was near residential. It was near a nursing home, also a tap room, a Tractor Supply, and a Cadillac dealership. Now, there is a Volkswagen dealership sort of close to this, so that checks. And then Coshocton did look like it had some more of like farm residential lots next to it, but there was also it was like the dispensary, a house, a gas station, and then the county engineer's office. So for those people who live along East Powell and travel along East Powell and don't turn, it feels very different coming down East Powell than going down Worthington Road or coming from Gemini to Worthington. That feels very residential if you're coming down East Powell. It feels very much less residential in that corner if you're on Worthington Road. So just putting that out
For
there.
now.
For now. Yeah. Until we get the apartments
Yeah.
that are coming, and then it will feel quite residential.
Yep.
I think those were the comments. And just so our community's aware of how, Lisa kind of spoke to some of this. So as a state, we voted to approve adult cannabis use in November of '23. And when we discussed this in February of '24 and also in July of '24 at the trustee level. It was a public hearing. Now, we didn't notice specifically letting everybody know it was going to be a cannabis discussion.
It was on the agenda.
It was on the agenda.
Yeah.
It's noticed like every other
on
meeting
the
is
agenda,
noticed.
yeah.
We would love for people to, just a little plug for our listservs. On our website, you can go to our listserv. You can be requested to add to every listserv you want. You could get parks, we could get zoning, you could get township meetings. Everything's always on our website. Our agendas, our zoning hearings are on Facebook. I don't remember if
Yes.
and the meetings as well are on Facebook?
Did we put the trustee agenda on the Facebook?
Not yet. So that may be something that we can add.
We do not?
Um,
We don't put that on Facebook?
Just the meeting
The hearing,
notice,
the notice.
not the agenda information.
Okay.
For trustees?
But I know, like, I am on that listserv, and I get the agenda sent to me every Friday prior to the meeting. So I do apologize that we did not put this forward more intentionally, like we did. We had a fire department open house here recently where we blasted that a little bit more. So anyway, so we had a meeting in February. That was a public meeting. We had a meeting in July. As Eric said, it was the day before he had to make decisions, basically, and based on what was happening, it was a 2-to-1 vote to approve 2 uses in the township. At that time, what the ballot language showed is this excise tax, that we would get that 3.6%. As Lisa alluded to, the governor in his governor priorities for the fiscal year 26-27 budget blue book, he wants to eliminate the community host fee. We all attended the Ohio Township Association winter conference within the last 2 weeks. Multiple times OTA told us as elected officials and staff that the General Assembly is interested in changing that, so that 3.6% is not set. So they could take that away from us. I reached out to Representative Lorenz. My opinion is I don't want this here, but I said if it has to be here, I want the money so that we can do things with it. That's I'm one of 3, that is my
And we'll get the
opinion.
income tax regardless,
We
which
will
is
get the
smaller,
income
but-
tax, right, from our JED regardless, not if it gets annexed. We would not get that. We would just get the
No.
property tax if it gets annexed.
Yeah, Michelle, how many people do we have on a listserv right now? Do we have any idea?
It ranges,
Depending on the listserv.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
we have
but
up to
over
1,300.
13, okay. So, and from the listserv that went out with this on the agenda, we got no comments at all.
So, and at that, there was a fair amount of conversation from safety to what the people want. I mean, Ohio was given the opportunity to vote. Overwhelmingly, the community, the state as a whole voted yes. You wanted to legalize adult marijuana use. I voted no, personally. Orange Township as a whole voted yes. to do that. There was actually three, Lisa's map I think only showed two. The three precincts that did
Orange
not.
eye.
Did I miss
Yeah,
one?
was the
Orange
third one.
eye also voted no.
And
So
I didn't look at the Columbus precincts.
I did not look at Columbus.
Yeah, and
at all.
actually, and if you add the Columbus ones in, which actually I left out, I think it's closer to 58% approval.
So we had a lot of comment from people who live along Vail Canyon, which I completely understand. Based on that, that community voted yes. They wanted to legalize adult marijuana use. We have the two locations that our understanding is that their business owners are interested is this daycare, and then also along Orange and 23. If you know where Aldi is, you go north, it's Aldi, it's Ninja Car Wash, and then it's what used to be an old Valvoline building maybe 10 years ago. Our understanding is that Valvoline building is the second location, Robin, correct me if I'm wrong, that people are interested in. That is already zoned retail, so that, all they have to do is go through the zoning process, make sure they meet the landscaping and building facade and all the normal typical zoning setback requirements for an existing building, so the assumption is it'll be fairly routine.
But not a rezoning, right?
Yeah, not
When
a
you say
reason.
zoning process, it's an administrative review.
Yeah, so
that
that we will never see the
That
application.
will
There's
come
no
to the
public
community.
hearing for
That
that.
is also next to residential, there's a condo community right on the other side of that road.
It's across from the sheriff's substation.
The existing current sheriff's substation.
Yeah.
Yes. So just so we're all aware, there's another cannabis location on South Old State that is in Columbus, one property north of Speedway, used to be
Yeah.
MCB Car Wash. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who knows things, is that that is
Yeah, it is.
in the works as well.
And I think that annex, is that Columbus?
That is not
But it
Columbus.
used to be Orange Township?
It probably.
I thought it was Orange, yeah, it used to be Orange,
That corner
so.
was, yeah, it
Yeah.
used to be all in the township, and I think when the Drug Mart Plaza
Is that when
needed
that
additional
happened?
water
Okay.
capacity, they annexed.
I spoke to
Yeah.
former trustee Rob Quigley last night at a meeting, and he owns Aficionados, which is like a wine and cigar shop right there by Drug Mart, and he indicated that they were Columbus.
Yeah, so one's going in definitely right there. They've already got
Correct.
the license, I
Yeah.
That
believe.
we have no control over.
That we have no
Yeah.
control over. So just so everybody's aware, our votes matter as residents of the state of Ohio. And my understanding is our trustees said, the people said they want it, so we don't have to, but we feel that we should give it to them. Now, I said I represent the 45% of Orange Township that says no, so that's where I stand.
Might be 42,
It might be 42, right, the 40-ish%.
which I applaud you for doing.
Thank you. So, this is just kind of like what we do with the ballot box matters, and your elected officials are listening to our entire community.
Yes. And the majority of our residents are actually independent, substantially.
yeah.
Yes.
Is that a good segue into public comment?
Sure.
Okay. So we're going to open up the hearing at this point in time for public comment. What we ask is that you come to the podium, state your name and address. I don't think we have too many residents here that we're worried about overwhelming the time limit for comment. The only thing I would like to add is, that, again, I said this a little bit earlier, but we are recording this hearing, so please keep any sidebar conversations to a minimum. Please hold any applause. That way we can get through everyone's public comment efficiently. So-
Also, please speak into the microphone. You can feel free to adjust it for height so it can be recorded and everybody can hear you in the room.
And Erica reminded me that if you please address your comments, questions to the board, and then if you have questions, we will ask those of the applicant after we close off public comment to get those answered.
So it will not be a back and forth conversation, which is what happened at the zoning commission. We don't do it that way.
My name is Michael Corey, 3241 East Powell Road. I thought I'd go first tonight instead of last. I'm probably going to be the least popular person here, but it seems like as you all have to vote, you don't have much of a choice right now. The I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. We got an investor who's going to buy some property. I don't want more traffic up there any more than anybody. I just live right down the road. They've invested, they're willing to invest in our community, and everything's positive on that end. There's drug dealers right around the corner. You can go to Cleveland Avenue and buy weed anywhere, anytime you want it. And there's risks involved. So all the people that have fellow parishioners or fellow peers or co-workers, I'm sorry, people, it's It's those people who are going to be the customers at this facility. It's not going to be the 22-year-old college kid who has no money and can't afford to buy it, because he can buy a lot more on the street. Everything's regulated. So hopefully then we talked about stigma. Last time I mentioned the fear of the unknown. That's what it sounds like to me. You know, I look around the audience, look around people who are here, and it seems like no one really realizes what it is. You know, Drug Mart sells drugs. They get robbed all the time. They have sheriffs in there during the holidays. There is a nice facility right there in the Drug Mart Plaza. So if you want to do the same thing that Eric did, you all just stop in, you go to Drug Mart, just walk right down the sidewalk away and look in there. If you don't want to go in, don't go in. But just look in there. You get the same thing that Eric found. I checked it out. I had to find out for myself. So it's real. It's on every corner. It's near the mall. It's all kinds of places. This is not a drug dealer. This is not a gas station stuff. So with that, I just say that since it was passed in November of 2023, everybody here is opposing it. If they didn't vote, they should have voted then. In July of 2024, Orange Township took the initiative to say we're going to limit it to 2 dispensaries. That's a plus for me, living in Orange Township. There's going to be 2 dispensaries. So I think everything you guys are doing is the right thing. Everything they're doing is the right thing. We couldn't ask for a better neighbor, a better investor. Maybe we could ask for a better business, but if they have other retail, there might be a bakery right next door. They probably won't sell brownies or cookies, but it could be a bakery, it could be a beauty shop, it could be anything else. That place has been nothing but an eyesore. I've been here 24 years. It was an eyesore when I moved here, then they put the daycare in there, now it's an eyesore again. You know, Franz could have bought it and just leveled it and put a park there, we wouldn't have this issue about back and forth with not a good neighbor. There's other places more suitable. No one has mentioned the more suitable places for these people to take their business. If someone could identify those, that would be wonderful, for them especially. So I could go on, but that's all I have to say. I think the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and you have no choice because of what happened in Ohio and in this community, but to pass this and allow it to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I need to state my name or address or anything?
Yes, please.
Okay. Jennifer Foyt, 2231 Tucker Trail. Tucker Trail is located in the estates of Walker Woods, which is adjacent to East Powell Road. This is the egress to my home, as well as hundreds of other homes in very high-end neighborhoods, as well as patio home areas. For those who live out of town, namely the license owner and the business owner, please approach East Powell Road from the residential side. I also have lived here for 24 years. The reason we felt safe building in the estates of Walker Woods, even knowing that Polaris was being developed, was because East Powell Road, from one end to the other, has always been residential. And even with this Galaxy complex coming, those condos are people's homes. And they might need a daycare center because it looks like there's going to be a lot of homes in there. With that said, I do kind of need to back up. I had some prepared remarks, but I learned a little bit from the license owner and the operators. First and foremost, this is not a referendum on issue 2. We all understand what happened there. Everyone, the majority, decided that they were in favor that issue 2 would go forward and recreational marijuana would be okay. That's fine. This is a zoning issue where there is an out-of-town business trying to put something in a predominantly residential area. We have to remember that. There are many people that are for or against this. This is not a referendum on marijuana use. This is specifically a zoning issue for a parcel of property that has been purchased with the wish to operate as a marijuana dispensary. The license owner, you also need to know our elementary school is located at the bottom of the hill. It is outside the 500-foot perimeter, but our buses go past there every day. East Powell Road is also a bus route. They stop and pick up children coming both ways. So any additional traffic for those on the west side, maybe over 23, trying to make their way down to cut through like all the Polaris traffic to get to your dispensary, will be stuck behind a bus around 4 p.m. Excuse me. With that said, I also like everyone here to know that the license holder himself does not live off of East Powell Road. The operator lives in Missouri. What was concerning to me is I learned tonight that this is a cash-only business. Both of you need to be aware that the crime has gotten out of hand lately in the Polaris area. That is under CPD jurisdiction.
Ms. Floyd, please address your comments
Oh.
to the board. Thank you.
Sorry, the crime has gotten really bad, so I'll get to that. As noted by the board, and I appreciate, Erica, you taking the time to look into the other dispensaries and where they're located. This truly is a unique unicorn of sorts in that it is such a high residential area. The Cincinnati location that was shared in the presentation tonight is in an urban setting and not at the bottom of East Powell Road. So with that said, when there is risk, there must be extra care and discernment. And it appears not much of that was taken in this case. You mentioned you didn't get much feedback earlier this year. I will be completely honest, I am on the listserv. I had no idea this was happening because when you are on the listserv, you're peppered every day with just one after the other after the other. It was not well known throughout this community that this was even going on. It honestly just became known within the past 3 to 4 weeks that this was going on because most of us are busy working parents. We do not have time to keep up with every single zoning application. So just to set the record, I do appreciate you guys have always done a wonderful job of putting the agendas, the minutes, all the recordings online. But the fact of the matter is, this was not widely known in this community. One of the things everyone in this room needs to understand, and I appreciate the length of time and the studies that were shared, those studies are not from the state of Ohio. Legalized recreational marijuana is brand new to the state of Ohio, and there are still many unknowns. And for this reason, many townships and area municipalities across the state of Ohio are taking great care to watch and to wait. Trustees are taking care to determine how the presence of local dispensaries impact the area crime rates, the traffic, and especially home property values. And those are the measurable impacts. What's going to be even harder to measure will be the overall impact on the health and well-being of community residents. Lisa, I believe you had flawed reasoning when you became the cheerleader for allowing this based on the mere fact that issue 2 passed handedly in our precincts. It's my understanding that you green-lighted dispensaries for Orange Township because most of those precincts voted in favor of issue 2. Yes, many are in favor of having safe and legal ways to purchase marijuana. Yet those same voters do not want a dispensary located next to their home or down the street from Freedom Trail Elementary School or en route to Orange Middle School and the high school, which we just found out tonight shares the same brand colors as the dispensary. Nationally, 60% of those who are okay with legalized marijuana are opposed to dispensaries in their neighborhood area. What we also learned tonight is there seem to be plenty of other legal, safe dispensaries in the nearby areas where our residents can safely go and purchase. So again, this becomes a zoning issue. This is not an access issue. Failure to protect. You failed to protect us and our property values when you passed on the opportunity to put forward a moratorium or resolution against dispensaries. Berlin Township, Genoa Township, Liberty Township, Concord Township, and the city of Powell all put forward resolutions in efforts to protect the integrity of their townships until more data becomes available. You sold us out for a mere tax revenue profit of what I was told was $200,000 to $300,000, not the $500,000 that Lisa stated tonight, which upon further examination might never come to fruition as there is activity at the State House right now to remove the excise tax and wrap up our profit in the general fund. So we are taking this risk with possibly zero reward at the end. Questions? These are rhetorical. Did you complete an economic impact study or assessment? Tonight, you were asking questions about transactions, so that tells me that there's still more work to be done on the actual economic impact from this particular business. Did you thoroughly research the traffic implications to East Powell Road, which serves as a residential through street and a bus route for our schools? Did you research the potential crime impacts of placing a cash-only dispensary in a residential area? Can you tell Township residents with certainty